So here we are, it's a Monday evening approaching 9 p.m. or so, and had a little bit extra time on my hands, and I wanted to get the dash out of the Cali Coupe here so I could get it prepped up and start the dyeing process on it, so that way I'll be one step closer to getting the interior all wrapped up and back together. So you guys might have noticed already something has drastically changed on the Cali Coupe, and that is the wheel and tire setup. And while I did a little swap slash switcheroo with Project Come and Take It, because while I think that the 18-inch Celine's look better on the all white car versus having the black molding, and it wasn't because the wheel centers are black on here, it was that I actually have something else in mind for this car, and these have become placeholders slash rollers. And one thing about these that I have to say, and I'm going to touch on it in another video, is how nicely that 275/40/17 actually fits in the front of this car. Now there's a reason for that. That'll be another video, but they really don't look too bad, and they're tucked in there quite nicely. What I want to go over tonight, like I said, is I want to get this dash out, and I want to try and do it as quickly as possible, but as diligently as possible, because while I don't want to break anything or damage or any of those types of things, I just want to get the dash out, and I want to get it out quick, because it's one of those things that it's not hard, and I've done it so many times, it's just I'd rather kind of do something else. But it's one of those things, I got a little bit of motivation, so I'm ready to tackle it. Just gonna buckle down and get it done. So a couple of tools here that I'm gonna be using, and I think the most important tool, and you guys can get this from Harbor Freight. Now, I had a little Craftsman toolkit and the little ratcheting wrench piece, component, whatever. It broke on me after, I don't know, maybe working on 2 Foxes. So I got this little kit. It's an Icon kit. Amazingly enough, this was like 30 bucks. So for Harbor Freight, this is actually, I guess you could argue value for money, but it is valuable. You know, it's just, what I'm getting at is it's on the higher side of the spectrum for Harbor Freight pricing. But with that said, you get all of these lovely Torx bits, and of course you get some Allen heads, some Phillips and standards, but the most important part of this kit is this tiny little ratcheting wrench right here, and it actually can pivot as well, which is extra handy. And if you guys have ever taken out a dash in your Fox before, you're going to know where this tool comes in really handy. The one area is actually taking out the cluster bezel cover here and getting at these, which are typically Torx screws, but they are Phillips in this case, so clearly that's been off. So to get that up in there works really well. And then the other 2 places are here, a Phillips screw here, and then the Torx that holds the speaker grill on. So this guy's going to make our lives easy, getting that out of the way. And then the rest is going to be pretty straightforward. The center console is already removed, so we really just got to, you know, get our switches out, pull the climate controls out, and pull out all the screws, and then we're just going to take the whole dash skeleton or cover off. We're not going to take the whole frame and everything else. The frame will stay in the car, and then it'll be out so we can prep it and get it painted. Some people take these this coupler for the vacuum lines off from the back side of the switch, and what I actually do is I just use a 1/4-inch socket and pull out this little screw on the back side, and then I actually do the same thing for the temperature selector. Instead of trying to fight with the cable, I just leave the mechanisms all intact. So by taking those out, then you can just kind of pull the knobs off. Then you just twist them out of place in the back like that, and that way your climate control comes off and you retain everything here without potentially busting clips or trying to deal with this cable or any of those things. And then you can just kind of tuck them back out of the way and you're good to go. Man, the whole time that I was taking this thing out, all I could smell was Armor All, and you can almost see it just oozing off this dash pad. You know, I can smell it right now. It's this guy liked to keep things shiny before, so needless to say, we're gonna have to be doing a lot of soap and water, a lot of serious cleaning to make sure that we have this silicone, grease, whatever you want to call it, free, so that our dye sticks to this properly. So maybe doing a two-stage thing here. You can see this is where the factory Ford dye is done on the top part of the dash pad here. So re-dyeing interior is really nothing different than the factory has been doing for decades. So I'm going to be doing the same similar thing. I'm going to be pulling this dash pad off, then we'll mask off the top portion of the dash here. I'm going to get this done in Lando black, so it's a deeper, more rich black as compared to this. This is more like a charcoal gray color, and so this will be nice and dark, and then we'll redo all of the bottom half and the dash pad and vents in Presidio Gray, and all this will look nice, fresh and new, and we'll get it back in the car. So I'm taking the crystal off the top of the cluster here, and it's not because I'm replacing the crystal. I will probably buff it up a little bit, but it's actually pretty clear. It is an original Ford part, so amazingly enough, it's in pretty good shape. But the reason why I'm taking it off, I'm going to show you here in a second, as soon as I get these last few screws out, is the separator plate that separates the gauges on the top. And I've always hated how cheesy the 87 through 89 clusters look. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, it's this little rinky-dink thing right here. And I always like the 90 through 93s because they have like a raised plastic piece. I don't know, it just looks more modern inside there. Some of you guys probably know what I'm talking about. Other guys are probably like, what the hell are you talking about? So, wanted to see why it wasn't sitting 100% flush. And there's a few other things that are going on in here that is driving me a little crazy. So this piece, this is the rinky-dink piece that I was talking about. And maybe if I do open up a 90 through 93 cluster, I'll show you the difference. The clusters are different, they're not interchangeable. I have modified the plastic bezel from a 90 to 93 to make it fit on here. I did that in the stocker vert just to give the cluster the illusion of a newer one. But the main thing that I was looking at here is the tack has been replaced and is a darker face. This is all faded out, and well, I don't know what my approach is going to be here. Like, I can get another set of faces and I could change the faces, or I can go grab the cluster out of the parts car because it's an 89 and it has the 140 Speedo in it. So this Speedo right here is actually a rare one, folks. Only came in 89, where you got your 140 mile an hour Speedo and not the, you know, the 85 or whatever it is. I think there was one in between that might have gone up a little bit higher. But needless to say, This is driving me nuts, and I'm gonna probably grab the one out of the parts car and see what I can do. And I think, I'm not sure, something's not right here with the way that all these... All right, so I got the cluster out of the parts car here. And you can see it's filthy, just like you would expect for something to come out of a parts car. I think this might be the path of least resistance here. And amazingly enough, it still has all the check idiot lights here, so I'll actually have a low fuel light, which I really don't mind having. So most of these ribbons, people cut these off. I'm not sure why they do that, but they do. But I'm gonna keep this one intact, and you know what? It's gonna get used in the Cali Coupe. All right, guys, so here's the two clusters, and there's a couple little differences here in case you guys haven't noticed. You'll see they're both stamped. They're all Ford. I'll even take this trim ring off here so you guys can see. So you can see all the Ford part numbers and everything else here. This cluster came out of an 89. This one was in the 88 California car. I don't know if the 88 California cars came with a 140 Speedo or not, but if you look close enough, you're gonna notice that the Speedo is actually different. The shape, notice how this one goes all the way down to the bottom and this one doesn't. This was out of the 89 parts car, and I know that this was original to the car and had never been changed, at least to my knowledge, and that's what I'm gonna go with. You're gonna see that both of them have this little Kent. I'm assuming that that was the supplier who did the gauge faces. You can see it's on all the part, next to each part number. The other thing that's interesting to notice is if you look at the battery gauge range here, see how it says normal on this guy? And here it doesn't have the words normal, where this stuff all does. So that's one difference. Another difference, like I said, is the actual speedometer itself. This one has an opening here, this one does not. And this one, if you guys remember, there was something about the way that these gauges sat in here. And this guy's missing the plate that goes behind this for all of your center idiot lights. I guess they just didn't put that back in. So that's why that trim plate was sitting like this, and there was kind of a gap in the back between the gauges and the cluster. And that was kind of driving my OCD nuts when I was looking through the crystal. This is the parts car cluster trim plate. And if you look real close, you're gonna notice there's a ridge on the separator trim ring here. Versus this guy, it's just flat. And I want to say this is the first time I've actually seen this ridge, and I'm wondering if maybe that's an 89 thing. It is stamped Ford, so maybe that was something to denote the ones with the ridge came with a 140 mile an hour Speedo. Honestly, I have no idea. This is one of those really weird, odd things about a Foxbody that makes it different ultimately. So anyways, that's some cluster fun. I'm not going to waste too much more time talking about gauge clusters. You guys get the idea. Nope, I'm going to keep the best of everything, get everything cleaned up like this. I'll take the best crystal, I'll get that all cleaned up, and this is going to look like brand new inside, which I'm very happy about. And then we'll get the bulbs changed out to LED in the back. And again, for anybody wondering which LED bulbs I use, here they are right here. You can Google these on Amazon and you'll find them. So there you have it. So there we have it, guys. All the little bits and pieces that we removed sitting on the ground here. I've washed them twice, sprayed some super clean to degrease them, get all of that armor all off that you could see, you could smell it as well. So you guys want to make sure you get all of that off. So if you got to wash stuff 3 times, wash it 3 times, treat it like you've got overspray on your car, you drove through some road paint or something. Scrub the absolute living shit out of it. Once everything feels dry and doesn't look like or smell like that it has any foreign materials or substances left, then move along to your purple Scotch pad. So now I'm just going to scuff everything down. I'm going to mask off the idiot light panel on the cluster bezel cover, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Backside of the fuse panel cover, the little label that says fuses on that guy. And from there, we'll be able to do final washes and then final wax and grease remover wipe downs. Then we'll be able to spray some dye. All right, guys, so I've been prepping out the interior, getting everything ready for paint, and I have an armrest pad here. You can see it was formerly blue. And I am going to fix this crack that's right in here because the pad itself is actually in pretty good condition and it's not, you know, too lifted or anything like that. I'm pretty sure that I can save this and reuse it. So if you look pretty close, you can see that the plastic is cracked on the inside here. So what I'm going to do, I'll show you guys now. This might not be a forever fix, but it'll be a fix to get us by before we have to go out and buy aftermarket stuff, because these are originals. So I'm just gonna pull back some of this foam here. Then we have the crack that's all the way mostly down the center part here. And you can see that this is where, through the armrest, it screws into, and this is why things start lifting, right? So what I've done is I've gone ahead and plugged in my soldering iron, and I'm going to push down on the pad so that the plastic lines up again like it would have if it were new. And we are going to plastic weld. So you guys will want to work in a well-ventilated area, of course. Nothing like breathing in burning plastic fumes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this construction adhesive, this Loctite stuff. And you guys can use epoxy, you can get creative, like just use a quality product is my main recommendation. I mean, this one, anything that gets this solid after you put the lid back on, it's pretty serious stuff. Automotive goop is another one of my personal favorites. Be amazing what I've been able to goop back together. The funny thing about that is I'm pretty sure it started out as shoe goo for skaters, and I've fixed everything from subwoofer surrounds to you name it with that stuff. So there we go. There you have it, repair on an armrest pad. And you know, as long as you're gentle with your Foxbody interior, which I had a whole other video on how delicate and fragile these old Foxbodies are, and well, they've always been, but doing things like this and treating them right after the fact, you know, this will probably last a really long time. And the best part is this is actually going to go, so it's been blue, then it's gone to black, and now it's going to go to Presidio Gray, mimicking smoke gray. But like I said, I'd rather use a factory piece than, you know, supporting China. And hopefully everything will turn out well. So we'll catch you guys soon and show you guys the results. All right, time to make stuff black for the Cali Coupe. Now watch, you guys will be able to see the difference in the blacks here. You know, these 87 through 89 dash pieces that are black are way more of a charcoal, so you can see how much darker it's getting. So I spray the Lando black on here. All right, Presidio Gray time, guys. You're not going to notice much of a change here. It's pretty much the factory color, although we will see it as I spray it on this black armrest. You actually see it covers pretty good. There's a good reason why I did not take the vents out. Number one, I didn't want to break any of these clips because chances are these would break. And number two, we're not actually doing a color change, and the Presidio Gray is so close that we're going to be able to get pretty much full coverage here, and you're never going to notice. You just got to kind of take your time and move the vents around back and forth, and we'll get it done, don't worry. I will not disappoint in the final outcome, I promise. All right, guys, so this video unfortunately is going to wrap up much like the last video after I finished restoring those door panels in the background there. But that's because we got a little more involved than I was planning to in the video. We had a deep dive into the cluster and trying to sort that out. And we fixed an armrest pad. And well, we finished dyeing all of the other pieces that we took out of the car. You know, just to give you a sneak peek, I did put the one armrest back together here. You can see where normally there is the chrome trim in between the armrest pad and the armrest itself. I painted that guy black. So not really the biggest fan of chrome. So that's gone, but everything turned out really, really nice. And in the next video, I'm gonna be installing most of this, but I think just instead of you guys watching me put all the interior back in, will it be a cool reveal? Yes, absolutely. But there's something else I'm going to share with you guys right now over here. Sitting right here, my little engine table are actually boxes and boxes of car audio stuff that I've been recently acquiring and waiting to come in. And it all has, I actually have a twin 10-inch subwoofer box that I test fit in the trunk of the car, and it fits. And there's going to be a little bit of a twist there, which is important for you guys to see because there's a lot of people that are probably wondering how and so on and so forth. I'm not going to get into the details. However, we will be putting two 10s in the trunk, got an amp, we're going to be upgrading all the speakers, the head unit, and I'm going to be going through all of the steps to show you guys how to fix maybe some hack stuff that might have happened over the years because, well, these cars for the most part would have seen an aftermarket stereo at some point. So we're going to go over that. We're going to go over some wiring and everything else, get this installed while putting the interior back in. So it might make the episode a little bit more interesting, and most importantly, be able to reveal what the new interior is going to look like. So be sure to stay tuned. Thank you again for all your support. We'll see you guys here next time on the Infamous Project.